So, and you know, when I went to medical school, the first lesson you learn is anatomy. And that's a terrible thing, because you come away with a worldview that believes of the human body as a structure, when in fact it's a process. Okay? In fact, there are no structures. There are no nouns. Nouns are a convention of language, not descriptions of reality. Your physical body recycles once a year. So the molecules of your body, the atoms of your body, they recycle once a year, and this is known through, we know this through radioactive isotope studies. Your stomach lining is new every 5 days. The one you have today wasn't there 5 days ago. Your skin recycles, the molecules that make up your skin recycle once a month. Your skeleton recycles once every 3 months. So it seems so hard and solid, but it's carbon and hydrogen and oxygen and nitrogen and phosphorus and calcium, which is recycling every 3 months. Your DNA, which holds the memories of millions of years of evolution, the actual raw material of the DNA comes and goes every 6 weeks like migratory birds. I've been having these amazing conversations with Rudy Tanzi, who's the director of genetics at Harvard Medical School, discovered 3 of the 4 genes for Alzheimer's, and 100 other genes, by the way. And so he assures me that 65% of your DNA and your genes are identical to a banana. 80% the same as a mouse. 98 point something percent the same as a primate, a chimpanzee. And here we are talking about dark matter and dark energy and stardust. We have the same biological tree of evolution, the same information that gave rise to this physical body, with little leaps of radical mutations, never mind how they occurred, natural selection and random mutations, or perhaps not so random, but that's another conversation. Your physical body recycles about 98 point something percent of it once a year. This body that I'm using right now to manufacture this lecture is my year 2012 model. The physical body I brought with me to Tucson, Arizona, last time I came here. And incidentally, I came to Tucson with the same suitcase, but not the same body, because my suitcase has a longer shelf life. So are we just this recycling body? And if you think you are your body, then which one are you talking about? That's a serious dilemma then. Okay, you've had the body of an infant, you've had the body of a teenager, you have this one now, and soon this one will disappear, because we're recycling the same stuff. In fact, there are some very interesting mathematical calculations that suggest that right this moment you have in your body 1 million atoms that were once in the body of Christ, or Buddha, or Genghis Khan, or Saddam Hussein, or anyone you want to think about. In just the last 3 weeks, a quadrillion atoms, quadrillion means 10 followed by 15 zeros, have gone through your body, that have gone through the body of every other living species on this planet. So think of a tree in Africa, think of a peasant in China, think of a squirrel in Siberia, and you have luminous stardust in your body that was circulating there only 3 weeks ago. So the first thing Vedanta says, that the body is just a recycling of stardust. It's a recycling of the universe, actually. So you say, okay, what about the mind? And you know, when we come to the mind, there are certain problems, because in science, there is no really good definition of mind. Okay, in Vedanta, of course, the mind is a disturbance in consciousness. right? It's the phrase. There are two phrases that came to mind this morning as I was listening to our dear colleagues from Dayal Bagh. And one was Yatha Pinde, Tatha Brahmande, which is as is the universe, so is the atom. As is the microcosm, so is the macrocosm. As is the human body, so is the cosmic body, stardust. As is the human mind, so is the cosmic mind. So Vedanta has no problems, the mind, but in science there is no good definition of mind. That's why we have all these arguments about hard problem and soft problem or whatever, the easy problem. So here is a very good definition that fits in very well with a Vedantic perspective. And this definition I owe to Dr. Daniel Siegel, who is a psychotherapist and MD, originally from Boston, where I trained as well, but now practices in UCLA, and he's a Buddhist scholar as well. So this is how he defines mind. And I like this definition. Perhaps Sue might object to this definition, but I have not found many objections to this definition. So here it goes. The mind is an embodied and relational process. I'll repeat that. The mind is an embodied and relational process that regulates the flow of energy and information. Once again, I'll repeat it. The mind is an embodied and relational process that regulates the flow of energy and information. So right now, our minds are, in a sense, entangled relationally. I am speaking to you. I'm exchanging information with you. Or at this moment, I'm giving information. And you're, to some extent, giving me back information through your body language, through your eye movements, through your facial expressions, through your gestures, through your posture. You're also giving me information. So we are exchanging information. And this information is instantly modulating the activity of genes in your neurons. Okay, because this information, as we are speaking right now, I'm now giving you information which you have to metabolize through your cerebral cortex. Okay, not through your midbrain or not through your emotional brain, but through your reflective brain. And so the information I'm giving you is instantly causing the activity, instantly, within seconds. I checked with Rudy Tanzi this morning. Okay? He said there are two kinds of gene modulation that occur through thought and through mind. One is instant, and that involves messenger RNA, and one is called long-term potentiation, which is habits. Okay? But in order to lay down neural tracks, you have to instantly activate genes. So right now, I'm activating your genes, and through your feedback, you're activating my genes. And then, because now the relationships are space into India, everybody is participating in this exchange of energy and information, or we can say the experience of meaning. Okay? And we are modulating neural networks. We are activating genes. And these are neural signatures of mind. And these neural signatures are also affecting the body, because we now know that your breathing, your metabolism, your hormones, your self-regulatory mechanisms, your perception of the world, your beliefs, your assumptions, they're all influenced through this relational and embodied process. The mind is not in the brain. It's everywhere. In your brain, in my brain, in our bodies, and right now through social networks across the planet. In fact, unbeknownst to us, through social networks, we are creating a global brain for a planetary civilization. Unbeknownst to us, this process is going to get rid of our localized identities, whether they are the identity of a particular race or a particular religion or a nationality. You know, we are slowly moving into cosmic citizens. And technology is the extension of the evolutionary impulse of the cosmos that is acting not only through the human brain, but through the technology that is the extension of our senses that is created by our consciousness. Okay, so it's embodied, it's relational, and it can't be localized. The mind cannot be localized. And the mind is where we process meaning. And that's why I have a problem with material scientists, because the physical systems do not process meaning. There is no theory that says, how does a physical system process meaning? So let's say somebody says to you, I love you, and you're madly in love with them. Immediately, your genes will go into activity in your brain networks, and you'll secrete serotonin, opiates, oxytocin, and dopamine. And by the way, they all regulate they're immunomodulators, they regulate your immune system, and you'll feel intoxicated with the experience. Just that one sentence, I love you. Now somebody else says, or the same person says, I love you, and you're considering divorcing them. You're not going to secrete serotonin or oxytocin. You're going to secrete adrenaline and cortisol, which is going to have immediately put your immune system into depression, and all kinds of nasty things will happen in your biology. It's the same sentence. It's the same vibration of the atmosphere. It's the same electrical current that goes to your brain. And yet you have a completely different output because you have processed meaning in consciousness, not in your neural networks, which are the output of consciousness. I hope I'm making sense, but nevertheless, this is the paradigm. Okay, so we now have a definition for mind. The mind is process, and it cannot be separated from the body, because every aspect of this process has implications in this recycled stuff, stardust that we are made of. Your brain networks, your body networks, your perceptions, your assumptions, everything changes as you process meaning. Okay, and there's no separation here between mind and body. So I'm not talking dualism, please. Okay, this is totally monistic. The body is the objective experience of the world. The mind is the subjective. The body is the objective experience of consciousness, and the mind is the subjective experience of consciousness. So it's not dualistic at all. It's the same thing, perceived differently. Okay, now we come to the big question. If we've gone beyond these two processes, what's consciousness? What's the soul? In fact, is there such a thing? You know, with most people, you won't have a problem convincing them of their mind. Their internal dialogue never shuts up. In fact, that's the first thing that people complain of when they start doing meditation. I have too many thoughts. Okay, and it's great that they say that, because it's the first time that they, in a way, are suggesting that they are not their thoughts. I have too many thoughts. Who's asking that question? Okay, Rumi, the great Sufi poet, has a beautiful poem. He says, who am I in the middle of all this thought traffic? Okay. So, consciousness is the ground of being in which sensations, images, thoughts, and feelings arise as a disturbance, and then they subside back into it. In Vedanta, the universal consciousness is called Brahman, and the whole universe is called Brahmand. Okay, because Brahmand, the universe, is a disturbance in Brahman's bliss. Brahman, the state of bliss consciousness, in total equanimity and love and bliss existence, it interacts with its own self, it disturbs itself, and it then differentiates into the observer, process of observation, and that which is observed, and that is called Brahmand, the whole universe of experience within consciousness. So there's another very important Vedic aphorism: I'm not in the world is in me. Where do you experience the world? Where are you experiencing me now? In your consciousness. So I'm not in the world is in me. I'm not in the body is in me. I'm not in the mind is in me. The body, the mind, and the world, they happen to me as I curve back within myself and I create again and again. This is Lord Krishna's teaching to Arjuna on the battlefield of life. Prakratim swam vashtbhai vishrajami puna puna. Prakratim swam vashtbhai vishrajami puna puna. Curving back within myself, I create the mind, I create the body, and I create the whole universe. So, you know, the great Indian thinker, J. Krishnamurti, was a great friend of David Bohm. I see there are Bohm philosophers here, and great privilege to meet them. I had the great privilege to meet Mrs. Bohm. But I think I recall a conversation where Bohm asked Krishnamurti, he said, you know, the more I listen to you, the more I realize you must be an atheist. And Krishnamurti kind of thought for a bit, and he said, I used to be an atheist till I realized I was God. And, you know, Rumi has a beautiful poem too, where he says, you think you're a drop in the ocean, but why not think of yourself as the ocean in the drop? Just a shift in perspective, okay? And that shift in perspective is the 7 steps to the evolution of consciousness that I'm going to explain, okay? So for practical purposes, what I did in this particular set of slides, to make it simple, was, I'm going to skip some of this, okay? But this slide basically shows that there is no fixed identity, and I don't even know if it's there. It's a movie that's embedded in the slide presentation, and I don't think it's here. So let's go. The basic presumption in the understanding of the evolution of consciousness is that all our challenges in life exist to make us more aware of our inner purpose. And the inner purpose is to become aware that the universe is becoming aware through us. The human nervous system is that privileged activity of the universe through which it is finding its own awareness. A larger purpose is trying to unfold through you, and this is the seed of consciousness that appears to, through random events, be creating a process, but that process is driven through purpose. And so these, for practical simplicity, I've divided awareness as contracted when you feel separate. The observer observes split, okay? When you see separate through an ego identity, that's the first level. And it has these signatures. You know, when you're stressed, basically, you feel disconnected, you feel your desires are thwarted, you hold your breath, you're resentful, you're fearful, and you feel energy depletion and whatever else is there. Okay, this is contracted awareness, the feeling of being separate, not being part of the larger process, if you will. The second stage of awareness is expanded awareness. Now, your body language reflects that. It's the experience maybe falling in love or having the experience with nature, where you feel that you are one with the process of nature, or at least you're connected to it, and your body relaxes. So there's a biological correlate to it. And you know, the Sufis have a good kind of image for this. They say, in contracted awareness, you're like you're a person with a candle stumbling through a dark room, and there's all kinds of furniture and all kinds of you know, things there, and you're stumbling, and everything is a problem. And then you have expanded awareness. Maybe you have a flashlight now, and it's the light of awareness, that has expanded your awareness, now you actually see the furniture and you see there's purpose to all these little things. There's this couch, you can lie down. There's this television set, you can switch it on and watch your favorite program. There is a stereophonic system, and you have now everything that was an obstacle, you're seeing it in the context of purpose. Expanded awareness, and then there is the third awareness, which is pure awareness. Third level, pure awareness, which is, okay, I'll show you, this is a Buddhist kind of slide, that there is awareness, which is the hub of the wheel. Again, this is courtesy of Dr. Daniel Siegel, who's a great friend and really good scientist. And he says, imagine that the hub of the wheel is awareness, and then the rim of the wheel is all the things that we can be aware of. So we can be aware of sensory experience, sound, touch, sight, taste, and smell, the qualia in our own awareness. We can be aware of our body, the musculoskeletal system and the viscera, which are very interesting techniques. And since we have 3 hours tonight, I hope to take you through some of these experiences. We can have experience of mental space, which is our own thoughts, feelings, emotions, sensations, images, and then we can have awareness of relationship, family, friends, social, community, world, universe. So as we expand our awareness, we become more aware of these things to be aware of. But in order to be aware of these aspects of awareness, which are forms of awareness within awareness, there has to be a hub from where the awareness is aware of itself. Okay, so I'll come back to this slide as a meditation experience, but this is level 3. Level 3 is the outer world reflects inner world. They simultaneously co-arise. There is no connection. There is unity. Okay? This is the non-local experience of your own being. Non-local body as well, because at the most subtle level, your body is stardust and light. And it's one process. And at this level, you have intuition, insight, peace, love, compassion, inspiration, equanimity, and what the Buddha calls divine qualities. Loving kindness, compassion, joy, not happiness, joy, and equanimity. Satchitananda. Okay, level 3. Again, this is a short video that we're not going to show right now. Awareness has components. So in every state of awareness, there has many components, but I just chose 5. Perceptions, expectations, feelings, assumptions, and beliefs. So when you shift your awareness, all these components shift, and you bring your awareness to whatever situation you encounter. Okay, so let's say you are evaluating your state of awareness. These are the questions you would be asking. First of all, you would ask yourself, am I aware? Secondly, you would ask yourself, what am I aware of? But then you could go further. How am I perceiving? What are my expectations? Am I questioning my assumptions? How am I feeling? What are my beliefs? And as you shift in awareness, these things will shift. Now, it turns out a baby can read awareness. An infant can read awareness. And this we now know is through a phenomenon called limbic resonance. So limbic resonance, the limbic brain controls, or not controls, is the neural signature of emotions. I have to be careful in my language. Is the neural signature of emotions, and emotions are read through body language. A baby will look at its mother and see her facial expression, her eye movements, tone of voice, body language, posture, and gestures, and will know immediately if the mother is in contracted awareness. If she's upset and stressed, the baby will respond through mirror neurons with the same body language. And if the mother is relaxed and open and has expanded awareness, the baby will correspondingly respond. If the baby's mother is in pure awareness and enlightenment, then the baby will see his or her mother as an extension of its own self. Evaluate your level of awareness right now. You feel restful and alert. Your mind is restful and alert, and your body is joyfully energetic. And in the third level, mind is dominated by love, compassion, joy, kindness, equanimity, because there's no separate self. The recognition that the separate self doesn't exist, and you experience your light body, the body of what in Vedanta we call the subtle body. So in Vedanta, you know, there's the physical bodies, which is the matter and energy. Okay, that's the physical body. It's called Annamaya Kosha. Then there's the subtle body, which is the mind, intellect, and ego. Okay, and that's the light body, because it's all photons, basically. And then there's the causal body, which is the non-local body in Vedanta. And your level of awareness reflects which body are you experiencing right now. In pure awareness, there's flow. Every moment is a conspiracy of the total universe. And your internal feeling is, I am the universe in motion. Brahman in action. Atman is Brahman. Okay? And of course, as you go deeper and deeper, there is less and less differentiation. It's just one single holistic process. Non-local being in a non-local universe. Very consistent with some of the things that all you guys are talking about: quantum entanglement, non-locality, timeless, spaceless domains of awareness. But here, of course, the premise is this all happening in the field of consciousness. What is spirituality? Good definition would be it's a journey into self-awareness. And it encompasses all the hierarchies, okay? From survival to safety, to material achievement, to success, to artha, to material success, moving on, then to relationships, love, compassion, creativity, insight, intuition. These are what the 7 chakras metaphorically represent. They represent the gradual evolution of consciousness in the microcosm. Okay? And ultimately, totally non-local consciousness. So 7 chakras are metaphors of consciousness as represented in biology. A domain of awareness where we experience our universality. Another definition, pure consciousness is a singular that has no plural. That's a quote from Erwin Schrödinger. Okay? So while consciousness may differentiate into many ego identities, it's still the singular consciousness. Just that there's one electricity, there's gravity, there's space-time, and there's consciousness. Okay? The self of the individual is the self of the universe, the ground state. Exploring the realms of insight, intuition, imagination, intention, inspiration, creativity, and archetypes, which represent symbolically the collective imagination and the collective experience. So these are some questions that I do with some of my course attendees to live these questions, to reflect these questions, not asking questions, but just living the questions. And once they do that, it's like any other scientific inquiry, their consciousness gives them insights. To be alive is to be in the flow of change. There is no out there. There is only in here. The out there is also in here. And life recycles and evolves at every level. Okay, today Stuart was talking about the recycling universe. The more you let go, the more your true self can express itself in spontaneous evolution, because holding on to anything is like holding on to your breath. You start to suffocate. It's localizing your consciousness. You need only to consciously live your true self and allow it to expand. And then in the book, I went through relationships and how relationships are affected by contracted awareness, and what happens to the same relationships in expanded awareness, and what happens to relationships in pure awareness. You know, somebody asked Nisargadatta Maharaj, who's a great teacher of Vedanta, I said, yeah, I see an old man talking to me, and, you know, seems very personal to me. And don't you experience love? And Maharaj replied, my love radiates like light from a bonfire, focused on none and denied to none. It's the pure radiance of pure consciousness, Satchitananda, as we know. So I applied this to addictive behaviors, what causes contracted awareness, how does it relate to epigenetics, to neural networks, to immune systems, to homeostasis, to self-healing. Because, you know, I'm trained as a medical doctor, and it took me a long time to recognize that all disease is a disruption in homeostasis. All disease is a disruption in self-regulatory mechanisms. Okay? And consciousness is the most self-regulating thing there is. Okay? It's not only self-regulating, it's self-evolving. Right now, you have 100 trillion cells in your body, which is more than all the stars in the Milky Way galaxy. Every cell in your body is performing over 100,000 activities, and every cell knows what the other cell is doing and is in fact, in some way, non-locally, synchronistically behaving in harmony with every cell. How does a human body think thoughts, play a piano, kill germs, remove toxins, and make a baby all at once? There's no mechanistic explanation for that at the moment. Okay? And while your body does that, while your body does 100,000 activities in 100 trillion cells, it also tracks the movement of stars and planets, because your biological rhythms, circadian rhythms, seasonal rhythms, lunar rhythms, gravitational rhythms are actually the symphony of the whole cosmos. You are the cosmos in activity at this moment. All your biological rhythms are actually cosmic rhythms, circadian rhythms that shift over a 24-hour cycle, lunar rhythms, which are based because of the gravitational effects of the sun and the moon and the stars on water, but 65% of your body is water, so it follows gravitational rhythms. There are many others that you can study. But if you understand that consciousness is self-regulating, consciousness has feedback loops, and the body follows that, then in pure awareness, consciousness is the key to addictive behavior, to getting rid of stress, to conquering the fear of death, because consciousness is non-local. Non-local doesn't exist in space-time. Okay? Space-time, where do you experience space-time? Can you see space? Where is time? I mean, we have all kinds of wonderful mathematical formulations, but mathematics is also an activity in consciousness. Okay. So Vedanta would hold that mathematical truth, which is Jyotish, by the way, mathematical truth, musical truth, which is Gandharva Veda, okay, mathematical truth, musical truth, Platonic values, evolution, all exist as potential forms within consciousness, which is self-regulating, self-evolving, like that spiral. And so, you know, having looked at the whole system of medicine very carefully and looked at, so as we expand our awareness, then this is what we experience in our body. I'm not going to go into this, but I want to show you this one slide, which is a map that I created through our work at Gallup. As you know, at Gallup, we gather data through doing questions. For over 100 years, Gallup has asked the most precise questions and has developed the most precise methodologies for getting the answers. I happen to be a senior scientist in Gallup, and we looked at these different aspects of well-being. Okay, so if you ask people, are you happy with what you do every day? Are you happy in your career? Only 20% of people say yes. So the astonishing fact, okay? I don't know if you know that more people die in our civilization on Monday morning at 9 o'clock of heart attacks than any other time. It's an extraordinary accomplishment for which only the human species can take credit. I don't think any other animal knows the difference between Monday and Tuesday. We also found that if your supervisor or the person that you work with, and this morning there was a very nice, interesting lecture on management by the Dayal group, the Dayal Bagh group, beautiful lecture. And she talked about consciousness and management. Here's some very interesting data through Gallup. If your supervisor ignores you, your rate of disengagement goes up by 45%. And sooner or later, you start getting sick because you're so stressed. If they don't ignore you, but they criticize you, you get better. Your rate of disengagement falls to 20%. Why? Because you would rather be criticized than ignored. Our consciousness is relational. If, on the other hand, your supervisor notices a single strength that you have, then your rate of disengagement goes down to less than 1%. This one statistic accounts for $380 billion of lost economy. Disengaged workers, and then another category called actively disengaged people. Actively disengaged people are not only people who are unhappy, but they come to work with the express intention of making other people unhappy. And since the mind is relational, emotions are contagious. So here's another very interesting statistic on social well-being. If you have a happy friend, your happiness score goes up by 15%. If your happy friend has a happy friend, it goes up by another 10%, even though you don't know the happy friend's happy friend. And if your happy friend's happy friend has a happy friend, it keeps going up.